Good morning to you from Fire and Hammer Evangelism Ministry. I do pray that the grace and the peace of the Lord Jesus Christ is upon you all. Let's take a moment and talk about rabbit trails. Perhaps you haven't heard that term before, but this is when the heckler on the street, while you are trying to preach the gospel, comes up with questions and challenges about everything but the gospel. The important thing to remember here is they don't really want to know how Noah could get all those animals inside one boat. They don't really want to know why a good and merciful God could order the annihilation of every man, woman, and child of the surrounding nations as Israel was moving along. They don't want to know the answers to these questions. All they want to do is give themselves over to the demonic tool of interrupting the preaching of the gospel. Now, if you do have a friend or two along with you, you might say to such a person, please step right over here and my friend would be glad to help you with that question, and you continue the preaching. If, on the other hand, you are alone, don't dismiss them, don't rudely put them off, but say something to them like, I'd be glad to talk with you over here to the side in just a moment as soon as I finish here. Please hold on until I'm done and I'll be right with you, because your question is important to me. But whichever way you handle it, address it and get right back to your main job. Get back to your target. Get back to the gospel. Do not get dragged off into one question, which leads to another question, which leads to another question, which leads to no gospel getting preached. Do not let the hecklers of the crowd, do not let the minions of the enemy distract you from your primary task. Get the gospel preached. Treat these people with respect and with courtesy, surely, absolutely. But do not get engaged in something that shuts up the preaching of the gospel. Just don't do it. All right? And another thing about those hecklers is they're good for bringing more people in to listen, aren't they? Sometimes a crowd won't stop what they're doing and stand by and listen to the gospel being preached, but when a heckler does get started in, they'll stop what they're doing and stand around to watch what's about to happen. So they're good for bringing more ears to hear the gospel being preached. So thank God for those hecklers when they do happen. And remember, address it properly, but briefly, and get right back to the gospel, because that's the only thing that's important. If they do have serious questions, okay, well, maybe should the Lord be pleased to save some of them, then after they are saved, they can get into some good discipleship, some good church teaching, some Bible reading, and they can find out the answers to those questions. But on the street, out in public, interrupting the time of the gospel being preached, that is not where we want to get engaged in answering those questions. Hope that helps.